2 weeks ago, I left my engineering job to pursue something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm talking to business owners. In the past 2 weeks, I've talked to 4 people that have founded businesses, and already something kind of surprised me. The same 4 themes kept coming up over and over in these conversations with these people, starting with great businesses define expectations, not just for their employees, but for their customers and suppliers too. This goes for everything from culture to communication to payments and accountability in general. See, on all these things, ambiguity creates friction. And more so, clear expectations create alignment. You can be on the same page as people whenever you just tell them what you're expecting. And here's kind of the takeaway from an action with this. If you consistently model the kind of behavior that you expect, then the right people will kind of filter themselves in. You'll keep the right people around, you'll interact with the right customers and employees and suppliers, and the wrong people, the ones who don't have that alignment with what you're doing, they've filtered themselves out. The most interesting thing was that this was across 4 separate industries. It was in the service industry, it was in a trade, construction, it was in esports, and it was in industrial. 4 very different industries. And each of these people said basically the same thing. Having these expectations clearly defined with the people around you makes those relationships just all that much better. The second point is loving what you do matters a lot more than I realized. Now, when I first thought about this in these conversations, I thought it meant passion. And we did use that word a few times, but it's not the way that you've probably heard passion talked about before, especially in the entrepreneurial space. People like Alex Hormozi talk about how your proficiencies will get you so much further than your passions. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But I think the confusion that comes with the word passion is where the passion comes from. I think that most people, when they hear passion, what they think is a thing that I love to do that's fun to do all the time. Thinking like a sport or a video game. And when it comes to the entrepreneurial world, passion has to be defined differently. You can't talk about it in terms of something that is fun to do all the time, something that makes you happy to do. It's more nuanced than that. And this isn't a perfect definition, but something that you can take pride in, something that you can be satisfied in doing. See how it's nuanced? It's kind of hard to define. But loving what you do looks a lot like doing a thing well and being satisfied by that. Now, given that definition that we're working with, there's kind of 2 subpoints behind this. First thing is that if you love what you do, the revenue and the money matters less. Obviously, it's important to make money, but someone who loves what they do can be very satisfied with making $2 million a year in revenue, as an example. The other point is one of these people that I've talked to reframed his entire business for me. He's in the trades, but it's not how he talks about it. He says he's in customer service. He told me, I've been in the customer service business since I was 14 years old. That's an important reframe because he's not just doing the service that he's doing. He's not just going and fixing people's problems. He is serving his customers, which is a pretty different outlook. That simple shift honestly changes every decision that you make. The work becomes a lot less about selling and just becomes about giving and providing value. And so now you're not trying to sell your product, you're trying to help the person that may or may not buy the product. And there's a cascading set of effects from that. The person's going to be more satisfied with buying from you. You're going to feel more satisfied with selling to that person. The sale is going to feel more comfortable the whole time, and you're going to be a more honest business person. And by being more honest, you'll be building up your integrity, and that person is going to be way more likely, first of all, to be happy with their purchase, like I said, but then to refer you. Because as an honest person, you're someone that they can feel comfortable suggesting to a friend. And so what ends up really happening is you just find more purpose in the thing that you're selling and the person that you're serving, because you're not just selling the thing, you're serving a customer. Third point is a little more simple. The founder almost always has to change jobs at some point. Early on, you're the operator. And by operator, you're operating everything about the business. You do everything. You're the accountant, you're the salesman, you're the CEO, you're the customer service representative. everything. It's you. You're the only one. Eventually, though, your biggest contribution is not going to be all of those things. You might have the things that you're best at, that you're doing most of the time, but your biggest skill is going to start to be building a team and leading that team in the vision of what that company is going to do. And this is a hard transition. 2 of the 4 founders mentioned this very specifically, and the other 2 kind of hit on it. But the 2 that mentioned it very specifically said that this was the current hardest thing that they're working on, is how to, it's not handing over the reins, but how to basically delegate and trust people underneath you to do what you're doing at a similar level. It's hard. Delegation can be one of the most difficult things. I mean, in business and just in life in general, even if you have a more traditional corporate job, delegating is a skill. It's not just telling someone what to do, it's understanding who can do the thing well. You can trust them to take on that task. Fundamentally, knowing when to make that transition is perhaps the most difficult part, and also the most important. And the 4th point, businesses are ultimately built on people, not just systems. You can have an amazing product to sell, but if no one can sell it, who cares? You can have an amazing business structure with the right org structure drawn out on paper and it looks amazing, but if you don't have the right people to fill those roles, it doesn't matter how well it theoretically will work. One business owner told me how difficult it was to fire the first employee he had to fire. Because when you're small, you feel like you're friends or almost family. Another owner talked about intentionally creating a place to work where people are rewarded fairly for the work they do and receive grace whenever life gets messy. This came from a place of personal hurt for them, where a previous job didn't give them that. And so it's like doing this thing where you're building a culture. It's one of the most difficult things in business, maybe even more difficult than knowing when to transition roles, which is how do you define the way you operate? And the way you do that is finding the right people. And in every case so far, whenever we talk about people, we're not talking about the systems that they're in. We're not talking necessarily about hiring and firing in these conversations. What's coming up is the people themselves. How much they care, how much they want ownership, how much they want to understand the business and be a part of something meaningful. One founder recently told me that the business isn't about growth. Sure, growth is important. Obviously, it is a huge factor in the business. But it's more about the purpose and giving back. And that's what he says is why some of his employees love what they do so much. And it's been a huge driver for the growth, because their personal convictions and their personal beliefs allow them to give back in meaningful ways through the business. Now, I'm only a few weeks in, so I'm not trying to draw like huge sweeping conclusions about how business operates and how business owners should and could run their businesses better, but I'm starting to see patterns. Those 4 things, the business owners needing to translate to different jobs, people being a huge factor, loving your work, and defining expectations clearly, are 4 common things already that I'm seeing. Let me know what you think, and thanks for listening.